from fullback to wing last week. He was named at the fullback position, started and finished the game on the wing with Ken Sio dropping back to fullback. That's been retained again, and I think you saw the best out of both Sio and Dixon. So this is lined up, as well as the last-minute changes to the Bradford side for a Hull KR win. But you know, as last night proved to us in the Super League with Hull FC, anything can happen.
We saw Ben Thaler, the referee. He was in charge not only for the Challenge Cup final, but also for the Thursday night thriller we saw between Castleford and St Helens. Mr Thaler getting in a spot of overtime this weekend. The man in the middle. So the Bradford Bulls' first use of the ball in their familiar white and black, and Hull KR in the red and white. Beautiful afternoon now here at the KC Lightstream Stadium. We've seen a lot of rain about. In fact, there was some thunder and lightning, which was very, very frightening, Paul Cullen, earlier on, but not so bad now.
Quarters on the way over, but the sun's shining here at this fantastic stadium. The new stand looks superb to our left-hand side. And looking down at the Bradford setup, lots of enforced changes, but still more than enough quality in the lineup for the Bradford Bulls to cause an upset if Hull Kingston Rovers aren't taking this game with the seriousness that it deserves.
Well, a good take in the end by Ken Sio. John alluded to the fact that Kieran Dixon's been switched across to the wing.
It was a great take.
It was a great take.
It was a superb take. When you follow the track that ball through the air, a paper bagger, they call them, a floater, they come down, and very, very difficult to take a read on that. Real confidence booster for Sio to start this one.
Well, in the last match, Chris Chester swapped and changed between Dixon and Sio at full-back and wing, and indicated he'd be doing the same again. But no surprise to try and get Dixon's confidence back after what happened at Wembley, and he got quite a bit of it back with a really good display and a couple of tries last week against Wakefield. So he now looking to build on that. Here come Hull KR looking to build on this first set of possession. The kick will go high. It'll go central too. Hanging ball just coating on the breeze. Hull KR will get a foot to it. Pinball stuff, bounces clear, and the Bulls will pick it up.
I think Bradford need to make a far better job of protecting that ball as it's coming down, John. You can't be running into your own players. I mean, they have the advantage, Bradford. The sun is behind them. You can see that with the way the shadows are falling. So the kicking game in the first half should favour the Bradford Bulls. If they're going to bomb, they've got to push up and chase. But in reverse, you've got to get your people around the ball and protect your fullback. I
think in addition to that, you need a fullback with a really strong voice, somebody who's going to clear some men out of his way. I mean, Mandika comes in for Jake Mullaney, who's been in the #1 spot for the last few weeks. James Clare as well. They've had a lot of changes at fullback, so you know that's not going to help them in terms of that decision making and that clear voice.
Absolutely. Bouncing ball, which is brilliantly picked up in the end by Chev Walker. Enters back there well for an old man, Chev. He did super. Oh, good play the ball, good quick to play the ball as well. Back to Patel, who we've mentioned is playing at standoff, and it's belted high into the air by Danny Addy. Good kick into the shadows of the post, well claimed again. Safe as houses so far this afternoon. Kenny Sio.
Well, I think a reasonable kick and a very good catch. If you're going to put the ball up and you've got the advantage of the sun, you've got to get a challenge on the fullback. Kick the ball higher, kick it a little bit shorter, make the fullback come onto the ball. That's far too easy for Ken Sio in that unusual position for him at fullback. We've mentioned the Bradford Bulls stomach bug that's gone through the camp. It's claimed a couple of players. We know that Jake Mullaney was very, very sick. That's why he's not playing, and well, we don't know how bad some of the other players are as well, John. I mean, it's not the ideal sport to be playing with if you've got a little bit of a dicky tummy, is it? Let's be honest.
It's not just that, it's how it strips you of energy. You can't get the fluids in, you become very dehydrated. It's something that's going to take 24, 48 hours to clear. Clearing kick there, well taken, on the full from Mandika. This is what we're talking about. Kicks, any kind of quality behind the kick needs to have a good chase following it, particularly when you're talking about Ken Sio. I mean, he's somebody we've seen all season during Super League. He's a man who can make great meters after contact, very strong, very low centre of gravity, so it's vitally important for Bradford to put that pressure on.
Bradford looking to bounce back after a real caning by Widnes last weekend, where they were beaten on their own patch 56-12. It was looking like being a very close game at half-time when the Vikings were only up 14-12. 42 unanswered points from Dennis Betts' boys put a very different complexion on the picture. Now Adrian Patel, that's a nice little ball inside too from Adrian Patel. He's done well to find Matt Ryan, the former Wakefield Trinity Wildcat. Now Addy and the Bulls come to this near side. Walker showed a dummy, put the ball outside. Chance for Bradford here on this wing. Danny Williams runs out of real estate and he's muscled into touch. For a moment it looked like he had half a yard. In the end the door was slammed in his face.
Yep, Ken Sio, again his position is good. I'm keeping a close eye on him because Again, both sides have had movement around that back three. That's all you can expect from your fullback. He's there to tidy up, he's there to clean up, and he's done a very, very good job so far. We remember him scored that famous try, didn't he, at Headingley, to take them off to their first Wembley appearance in 30 years. I think he's had an outstanding season.
In fact, we talk a lot, don't we, about recruitment of players from down under. You'd have to say that Hull KR have probably picked up some of the outstanding signings from the beginning of this season. We talk about CEO arriving at the club, but Campese and Albert Kelly were both absolutely outstanding. We know that they're both out for the rest of the season, but there were two very, very good signings by Hull Kingston Rovers.
Josh Montalto, arguably the buy of the season. You know, he's come from virtual nowhere, and he's been an absolute sensation. I must say there that the shape that Bradford used on that previous attack I thought was outstanding. Playing with good width, ran good lines, working to inside shoulders. They're going to be a force today if they can keep up some intensity in this game.
Only thing I would say is that perhaps the pass is a little laboured. You've got Purtell, who's played in the centre for this entire qualifying campaign, moved to the first time to number 6. It's a hell of a challenge, I think, for his first time away at Hull KR. Don't forget, Bradford not won on the road since early July in a game that was considerably easier than the task that faces them today.
Yeah, that was against Hunslet. They're going to be, well, they are big underdogs today. Bookmakers quoting Hull Kingston Rovers at 20-1 on to win this match, regarding it almost as a mere formality of turning up and going off again with the 2 points. But so far, a competitive opening 6 minutes or so as the Bulls move into Hull KR territory once more, and they've already rattled the Rovers' cage a couple of times in this match. Going in at dummy half is Adam O'Brien, and the Bulls again move it this side towards the near side to us. That's the Bradford left. That is a monstrous bomb from Adrian Patel. It could end up at the KC Stadium down the road. Seemed to bounce out of play to me and to Ben Thaler, more importantly.
Well, yep, and that's the correct decision from Ben Thaler. He didn't waste any time. And it's Danny Williams who's going to sit down for 10 minutes, professional foul.
Well, indeed, and it's a curious one, isn't it? Because if you delay a 20-metre restart, you're automatically a mandatory yellow card. You can commit almost any other professional foul on the field and nothing happens.
Well, there's no need for it. I mean, Kieran Dixon's quick, but he's already got 20 metres to cover diagonally to get to the point for the restart.
My point is, you can do it near your own try line and nothing happens. At 80 metres from your try line, you're sin-bin.
The last time I've seen anything as ridiculous as that was Danny Lima playing for the Warrington Wolves. Goodness knows when back in the day, who did exactly the same thing. Just got himself involved in the way of the fullback, knocked the ball on the floor, and your team's down. A man down. It's a crucial point in the game. I was just about to say, with so many changes to the Bradford side, you know, Mendika playing at fullback, who's usually a standoff stroke centre in his Warrington and his Swinton days. You know, I'm sure it won't be lost on Jimmy Lowe's and the coaching staff is that they have got to play with the ball. Kick, complete chase, because when you're so out of shape and structure, you can't give cheap ball and cheap field position away to a side as good as Hull Kingston Rovers.
Good little flick pass, and here is Montalto. Montalto runs into 2 Bradford Bulls, but remember, they are down to 12 men for the next 9 minutes or so, with Williams in the sin bin. They still go to the air, Rovers. That has reached the height of the floodlights. Mendika is underneath it, and he has done very well under a heck of a lot of pressure to keep hold of the football.
Great take from Mendika under pressure. Poor kick selection from Hull KR. They're down a wingman. That means your back 3 become a back 2. They've got so much more ground to cover. There was acres of space at the bottom right of your screen as you're looking at it, where Danny Williams would have been, although great offload. Bradford showing some enterprise.
Walker's wrapped up, though, just shy of the halfway line. The Rovers, remember, with this makeshift, you'd have to call it, half-back partnership of young Matty Marsh, just 18, and Dane Chisholm, who's come across from Canterbury, and we're heading back there at the end of the season, still, or will be without Kelly and Campese for the rest of the season. They're having to make do and mend. Bradford on the last tackle, 10 metres inside the Hull KR half of the field. Addy gets his hands on the football. That's not the best. It's gone 10 metres forward and about 10 metres sideways. It's batted back, hacked forward again. It's a mishmash of an end to a set, if ever there was one. It cannons off the post. Fortuities from Bradford. Picked up here by Kieran Dixon, and Dixon dances away for a couple of tackles, but it's knocked down 10 metres for his own line.
I did ask for a challenge on the end of the Bradford Bulls kick. I didn't quite mean it in that way. They kind of found a way then to get under the ball and put the kick through.
But it was that challenge from Purtell who actually turned that poor end of a set into a half-decent end of a set, and they managed to get hold of Kieran Dixon at the second attempt. That's the sort of input that Adrian Purtell's going to have to be doing more and more of it, particularly when down to 12 men. Bradford, Jimmy Lowes will be furious with that decision from Danny Williams to interfere on Kieran Dixon a couple of minutes ago.
Sure, they might need to change tactics. Instead of putting the bomb up on a hit and hope, get the ball out of play, kick it dead in goal, walk to a scrum, etc. Kick the ball into touch after bouncing in the field of play. You've got to try and work this now back to an advantage. That's absolutely what they didn't need.
Gents, Mendika knocks on, and Bradford are going to have to defend their own try line here. Mendika, well, it's the slightest of fumbles, but Ben Thaler spotted it, and that puts them under all manner of pressure.
He just had a little look up, didn't he? Just a little look.
Coming up later on this afternoon, we've got Catalan Dragons versus the Leeds Rhinos. Only two teams have won in the Super League in France this year, Huddersfield and the Rhinos. Earlier this season, Ken Brown McDermott's boys repeat the feat in the Dragons' Den this afternoon. Join us for that from 5 o'clock, live from the Stade Gilbert Brutus in the south of France.
Brilliant enunciation. Well done, Rod. So Hull KR's first genuine chance now at a scoring opportunity. It's against a man down, a 12-man Bradford.
So here are Hull KR with their best attacking position of the match to press. Dixon, scampering run from Kieran Dixon, runs into traffic, runs into three defenders, but still going, reversing towards the try line. Kieran Dixon, who picked up 2 tries last weekend against the Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Sean Lunt, the arch architect from close range, pops up a pass. They move from right to left, floated pass, Mantalato! The flying Mantalato goes in the corner. Ben Thaler not 100% convinced that this is a try. He thinks it is, and he'll go now to video referees Richard Silverwood and Sam Ansell for their view on the decision.
If Mantalato scored this try, I think you need to look at the check there just before he put it down. He puts his inside leg as far out as he can to give himself every chance of getting that ball down. There's no doubt at all that he's kept himself in field. That's a try, all ends up. I think that's superbly well taken by Josh Mantalato. 4 tries in the qualifiers, make that 5. First blood, Hull KR.
Josh Mantalato gets the opening score for Chris Chester's side. Paul Cullen pointing out one of the key signings from down under this season. A very plethora of top signings from Chris Chester and Neil Hudgell here at Hull Kingston Rovers. It came off the error from Mendika, and of course the extra man means there's a space somewhere, Paul, and they exploited it.
Defensive line thinned out, whether you play it on the left wing here or on the right wing, as Mantalato is creating a brilliant body shape to get that ball on the touchline. All the passes hit the hands, it's fingertip catch. Brilliant body position from Josh Mantalato. And we'll see now whether he can round off his superb offensive left wing play with a kick from that left touchline.
Mantalato is looking to turn 4 into 6, both personally and for his side, and he racked up an enormous haul of 30 points on the road at Bradford in the Challenge Cup. This time, no dice, 4-0.
Having a look at this try here, just look how the numbers were short. Amari Caro forced into an early decision on Ken Seo. Well read by the Hull KR attacking side. No one tried to interfere with the flight of that ball. Lovely floated pass to Mantalato, and the man of in your screen, I think, did exceptionally well to finish and keep himself in the field of play.
He did. I think the fact that Bradford pushed up so hard and naively in defence, John, you want your team coming off the line. You don't want to stand back and concede, but at some point, when they look like they've got the numbers, you have to ease off and edge out and slide and pick up the right player who's going to pick the ball. Easier said than done, I might add, but nearly got it right by pushing up, just didn't back off and pick up the right man.
So Bradford's quest for their first away win in 4 matches gets off to a start that they wouldn't wanted. Down a man to 12 men for the next few minutes while Danny Williams cools his heels after that professional foul and the Simbening and the try for Mantalato. Spectacular diving score in the corner from Josh Mantalato. No goal, 4-0 Hull Kingston Rovers as they look for another win They've reeled them off in this competition so far. They've got 2 games to come after this against Salford and Sheffield Eagles. Those may be academic. They may well already be safe in the top 3.
You see how easily they find the floor now, just without the one-man advantage. It's the one man they've got to take out of the up-front defensive line. The job at the end of the sets for Hull KR becomes immeasurably easier because of that.
Your wingers can't drop back. Well, one possibly can, but your line's going to be even thinner. It massively affects the way you go about your business. And I do understand the phrase, Ros, of the professional foul. It's an absolute nonsense in it. It should be the unprofessional foul. That was an awful piece of play.
Yeah, that was. Sometimes in all sports you have to foul to prevent a score by the opposition. That wasn't one of them. That was not one of them. Incidentally, also today, Wakefield are in action against the Widnes Vikings in these Super 8 qualifiers, and that's a crucial battle as well as the race, particularly for this 4th and 5th spot in the £1 million match. Hots up. Bradford would love to be in that. Hull KR looking set for one of the automatic promotion spots, either 1st, 2nd or 3rd in these Super 8 qualifiers. Addy has his hands on the ball once more, dabs it forward. Dixon says thank you very much, comes away with the ball in both hands, dancing around, keeping hold of it more effectively than he did in that horror afternoon for him at Wembley. Good to see him recovering and getting his confidence back, John.
Yeah, I think so. He's not a man who's short of confidence, but that would have been, you know, everybody's worst nightmare to go out on the biggest stage. And I covered the game last week, and he had a great game. Has to be said, because of that switch between the man on your screen now, Kensio and Dixon on the wing. Interesting to see the tactics from Bradford as well. They choose to go to Dixon first, going to prepare to take the shot from him first up, rather than a walk through a tackle from Kensio and then facing a quick play the ball with Dixon.
We do know Bradford have lost a number of players, and that's that half-back connection. Again, given a needless penalty away at the play the ball. There's 3 at the play the ball. There's a hand in. Per many 1 or 3 potential penalties at that point. On the previous kick, I think Bradford should be kicking the ball out of play at this moment. In CO and in Dixon and in Mantellato, the back 3 can return the ball well. And if you can't control them, you're going to give penalties away as you defend back down the set. Get the ball out of play, let the clock tick, get your player back on the field and start again.
This has been a feature of the Super 8 qualifiers. When Championship teams have made mistakes, they've been ruthlessly punished by Super League sides with that added experience, that added pace, that added power, and that Hull KR are looking to do that again here off the back of the penalty. And this time they go down that left-hand side. Chris Wellham is tackled. We've already seen a try on that left wing from Mantellato. Seo comes in. They work it through the middle this time, looking to expose an opening, maybe to expose the Bradford underbelly straight under the shadow of the post. Coming to this right-hand side now, the Rovers side. Oh, a flick pass will be picked up easily by Chev Walker. And Walker says thank you very much and gobbles that up, and that attack comes to nothing. Maybe a little too fancy from Hull KR.
It was a good decision from Purtell to come in the end. Walker's decision to stay out. He's a centre, but he's playing on the wing at the moment. The man inside you goes in, as Purtell did. You've got to go in with him. They got away with it just as some poor execution from Hull KR. I've got to say, we're talking about being ruthless. I think they've survived the absence of Danny Williams reasonably well, and I think if there's a coach that's going to be more pleased with that last 10 minutes, it's going to be James Lowes.
Yeah, just 1 try conceded during that period that Bradford have been short-handed so far, and they are no longer short-handed because Danny Williams is back in the fray for the Bradford Bulls. 4-0, not so bad at this stage, but it's largely been in the second halves when we've seen Super League sides go to town. Hull KR themselves at Lee, for example, loose pass. Ben Thaler will blow the knock on and put the scrum down, and it'll be another Hull KR head and feed just inside Bradford territory. Another mistake that they can ill afford, John.
Yeah, Dane Nielsen, he's a state of origin player. I remember him 2009, 2010, Melbourne, had an outstanding career down under. Signed him from St George. That's not auspicious, is it? And it's put his Bradford side under some more pressure.
Well, we talked about the Bradford away record, but just a word, Paul, for Hull KR's home record. I think 11-3 at home, and they have already beaten the likes of Wigan, St Helens and Huddersfield here. So 3 of the big 4 at the top of Super League have been sent packing from the KC Lightstream Stadium by Chris Chester's side. It's a difficult place to come, Paul, isn't it?
Absolutely is, and I know that from my own personal coaching experience. When this club and this team and this crowd get behind some momentum, they're very, very difficult to turn around. What you don't want to be doing is giving them the ball. That pass that I was alluding to just previously, you're having the player catching the ball on an outs line. He's catching the ball on the right-hand side of his body. You've got about 1.5 meters to catch it before he's knocked it on.
Look forward to me, and more importantly, look forward to Ben Thaler and the touch judge. Loose piece of handling from big Tony Pulatua, the former Saint and Salford Red Devils man.
The shape's good. The shape's really good. There's no need to hit that. Trying the fancy no-look pass to Donaldson. It's very rare a half-back, a craftsman with the ball gets that right. Never mind a back rower and a prop forward as skilled as Tony Pulatua is. Another opportunity missed.
If I was a defender, I'd rather see Tony Pulatua pass the ball than ramp up and run straight through me.
Yeah.
That's a massive bonus there for the Bradford Bulls.
I think it was probably the problem that Tony Pulatua couldn't see where he was passing it, Paul, rather than the defence knowing where he was going to pass it. But Pulatua's error means that Bradford get the ball back just on the halfway line. Pulatua, yeah, left Salford Red Devils under something of a cloud this season, but is playing his rugby league with Hull KR right now. Penalty blown by Ben Taylor. Good attacking position here for James Lowes' boys. First penalty they've been awarded in this match, 40 metres out, central position. Tap, perhaps, or maybe bang it in touch. Danny Addy for some extra yardage, gets another 15 yards or so, and now they can set up camp really for the first time in Hull KR territory.
Yeah, Danny Addy's going to take control of this set. I want to see how composed they are in that final third of the field. Hull KR, they've only missed 2 tackles as we approach the quarter of the game gone. It's going to take something special.
Is the Bulls then on the charge. Steve Crossley rumbles forward to within a couple of metres of the Hull KR line. O'Brien, Addy, batted on by Patil, a loose one picked up by the returning Danny Williams, who's now back in the action, knocked on by Patil. This could be trouble. If this goes to hand to Dixon, it won't. Had Dixon been able to hack that ball forward and regather it, it would have been good night nurse and 6 points under the post, but he couldn't get hold of it, and all Hull KR will get now is go back for the original knock-on, and they'll get the scrum down, Paul.
Well, Danny Williams needs to find a way of getting himself back into this game, or I'll rephrase that, of actually starting this game properly. You know, Patel, he's not a standoff, he's not a ball player, he's been put in there because there's injuries and illness. You're giving a ball, a one-handed offload to a player that's going in the opposite direction. You know, I think Bradford have done very well to be only 4-0 down on the first quarter with the disruption that they've had and the amount of cheap, wasteful ball they've given over for absolutely nothing. But that'll only last for so long.
I was saying they don't look composed at all. The challenge, looking down as they started that attacking set, Danny Addy needs to take by the scruff of the neck, have a composed set. If you don't get a try, get the next best thing, aim for a repeat set and try and build your way into the game, because you're right, I think they've been very lucky actually to, and only because of some poor decision making, and there's another one as we watch from Hull KR that they're not further ahead.
Yeah, play on, it'll be the free play here for the Bradford Bulls after the spill of the ball by Rovers. 0 tackle then, referee Thaler calls the 0 tackle. Bradford again getting an attacking opportunity. Last time they spilled the ball themselves very early in the set, and the Bulls fans start to find their voice here on the road at the KCE Lightstream Stadium. The Scottish international Danny Addy involved once more. The returning veteran Chev Walker, once of course of Hull Kingston Rovers, now very much of the Bradford Bulls. Here's Danny Williams once more. Adam Sidlow, ball goes to ground once more, not for the first time, in good field positioning, good chance of creating something. The Bulls blunder.
Well, at some point, somehow, from somewhere, the Bulls have got to get a message, either from the coaching staff to the field, which is not as easy as it used to be, or the senior players that are scattered about the field for the Bradford Bulls have got to get a grip of this game and try to manage it in a positive aspect. For me, they look like they're trying to play to a game plan that belongs to another team. It's the team that used to be in this position before they've got injuries and ailments and suspensions, etc., etc. Play straight, keep simple. I like the hooker, I like O'Brien. Go from the dummy half and keep it tight. You keep throwing it wide and putting it on the floor, they're going to run up a cricket score. I
think you make a really salient point when you're saying that they're trying to run the same plays and the same patterns of play with your key men missing. And Adrian Patel, yeah, I think he's a great runner of a ball, and that's what he is, a runner of a ball from the centre position. He's not a ball player. That looks incredibly laboured at the moment.
Well, Hull KR have got themselves out of trouble up towards the halfway line, last in this set of 6. 4-0 to Hull KR, just the one try, and that came when the Bulls were short-handed after a Danny Williams sin bin. It came from Mantellato. Precious little to write home about in terms of attacking chances apart from that, really, for either side in this closely fought Super 8 qualifier. As Hull KR bid to continue the run, they've already knocked off Wakefield, Widnes, Lee and Halifax in a sequence of 4 successes. One more will, to all intents and purposes, bar any kind of madcap set of results put them back in Super League for 2016, and now Bradford have a penalty.
And well done, Danny Williams, trying to get himself back in the game. Cross from the left wing, works across the other side of the field, took the ball in, got a quick play the ball, and Hull Kingston Rovers couldn't manage it. That's the way to try and get yourself back in the game and back in the favour of your own players.
Just committed Dane Tills, didn't he? The enthusiasm from Danny Williams forced Dane Tills into biting in without getting himself back at marker square. 23 metres. Should change the mindset now from yardage to attack for the Bradford Bulls. I'm still waiting for Danny Addy to set alight this Bradford side and really start to boss this final third of the field.
Well, Bradford haven't been involved in a close game in the qualifiers yet. They've been on the wrong end of two canings from Widnes and Wakefield, and had two big wins against Sheffield and Salford, which is the standout result of this phase of the competition so far. 41-10 over the SRDs at home. That the one big upset in the qualifiers so far, the one shining light for the Championship clubs over their Super League counterparts. Can the Bulls create something from this central position, 20 metres out? Addy moves forward, lays it off to Matt Ryan. Ryan takes three Hull Kingston Rovers with him before being turned back towards his own try line. O'Brien spins it this near side. Patel, chance, try! And Bradford Bulls have scored through James Mendika. James Mendika has levelled the scores by squeezing in at the corner after some sharp handling from the Championship club.
Danny Addy, I was asking for an involvement from him. I was asking for a key. I was just wondering at the start of this play whether it was time to actually switch Patel and Addy to first and second receiver. Have Patel as just the shuffle-on man and Addy the man who makes the plays. Well, he stood up in providing one on the play there for Mendika. All stemmed from the penalty. Quick play the ball from Danny Williams. Danny Addy knows that he can commit Dane Tills. The ball comes short side, far end of the field. Lovely sharp hands there from Addy. Made sure he committed Horn and in turn turned Dixon's feet in. Look at the hands there. Quality ball. And Mendika evens up the scores.
Well, Dixon's decision here, is he tackling number 33, number 5 for the Bradford Bulls, or shall he go for an intercept? He chose the intercept, he didn't make it, it was the wrong decision, and his teams stood behind the sticks.
Mendika back in the Bulls side as their last line of defence, with James Clare dropped after the hiding by Widnes last weekend, and Mendika making the most, levelling the scores, and a chance now for Danny Addy to land a conversion off the sideline and put Bradford in front after 25 minutes here at the KC Lightstream Stadium. Would be a big upset. Chris Chester's team, well, have carried all before them in this phase. Terry Campese with him, out for the season, along with Albert Kelly. I think it will be filed under success this season for Hull KR. As they get back into the Super League, they'll have wanted to finish harder than they did in 10th. But the Wembley visit, despite the ultimate outcome of a caning by Leeds, is still regarded as a successful season to make it back to the National Stadium.
And it's Kieran Dixon who's forced into committing to Danny Addy. He held it just long enough. That's a half-back. It's a half-back and it's a back rower's body, but it's a half-back from Danny Addy. I think the longer this game goes on and the closer those scores stay, I think that could be your key man.
He's a player with great vision. You know, he plays 6, 7, 9, 13. But in all those positions, he can look up and he can play. Aided and abetted, I might add, John, that Hull Kingston Rovers' defensive structure there was completely all at sea. Before the play the ball was made, they were short on the right-hand side. They actually made the decision for him. O'Brien shaped to the right and come back left. But you can't be that short on your own try line, can you, when you've got a 2-to-none overlap?
James Mendika's last try in the last away win, which we mentioned in July, 3 games ago. Huddersfield v Warrington coming up tomorrow, or Sunday should I say. It is tomorrow, isn't it? Yes. Available on Sky Sports on the iPad app. And that's at 5 o'clock, and the Salford Sheffield game comes along on Sky Sports Extra, or again on the iPad app. Right, back to the action here at the KC Lightstream Stadium, and the Bulls have rumbled deep inside Hull KR territory. Adrian Patel prods it forward. Is that a charge down? I think it is, and it's collected. Ben Thaler says, yeah, play on, keep on going, keep on running to Tyrone McCarthy. McCarthy did well, the charge down, gathered it himself. Now they've got the Bulls on the back foot. Pensio charges forward to within 30 metres of the try line. Good work by McCarthy, the Hull KR captain. Dixon spotted half a gap. Wrapped up, now let go again. You cannot let this man get away. Dixon has all the pace he needs. In the end, they closed the door. They had to. Sean Lunt comes in. He's looking for options right and left. He goes left. The ball is kicked through into the in-goal area. Hunting the try was Chris Wellham. It would have been his 100th try had he got the ball down. They have at least forced the goal line dropout, but it all came after the hard work of Tyrone McCarthy to charge the kick down.
Well, using a Warrington tactic, probably from his early days, where they charged down virtually every kick from the opposition. And Tyrone McCarthy knows what he can do, and he also knows what he's not got, and that's legs to go the full length of the field. Took the ball exceptionally well, and then kept the ball back in position. There's that charge down, just got in the way, made a nuisance. He knows now he's not going to squander this play or waste to play the ball. Covers up, gets a good play the ball in, and gets Hulkington Rovers for once in this game to the other end of the field.
Just look, there was a pass option there over the top. Mantellato hugging his touchline. Wrong option taken, I think, to drop that in. Nice floated ball over the top. Luke Gale to Denny Solomona, like we saw on Thursday night.
I think it's fair to say as well, we've mentioned that Bradford are out of shape and they've got bodies missing all over the field. That has to be said, of course, for Hulkington Rovers. They're not as fluent as we've seen them throughout the most of the Super League season.
The distinctive figure of Dane Tilse, Man Mountain, was involved early on in this sequence of tackles, looking to get involved again, but they come to the near side to Graham Horn. There is an overlap, half an overlap for Dixon. Dixon's feet are so quick, he can make a 6-inch gap into a yard and a half, and this time he gets within a yard of the try line before he's knocked down. They move it from right to left. Pulatua offloads again. This attack has lost its momentum, and it stagnates completely and goes from fifth gear down to first, and then parking the car 20 metres out. Rovers back in possession though with Tony Pulatua. This time he gets a bit of a go forward, as the last tackle is indicated by Ben Thaler 10 metres from the try line. It's been a pretty static attack. Can they finish it off in some kind of style? Grubbered forward by Wellham. That wasn't the play that they were looking for, no doubt. That's not in the playbook, but at least they turned the ball over near the try line.
They got away with this last week against Wakefield. Same pitch 8 days ago. Their options on the last tackle for the last 3 weeks now have been really poor, and they've managed to get away with it. It's keeping Bradford in the game, it has to be said. There was 2 golden opportunities you've seen there. One for a try with just a lofted pass to Mantellato, and then at the end of that set you saw the breakdown. Ken Seo overreading Chisholm's intentions with the ball in hand, and Bradford again with a huge sigh of relief marched their way back upfield.
Well, their ace string puller in the absence of Campese has been the mercurial and magical Albert Kelly.
But he's not, I mean, I don't see that as an excuse. He's barely played in the last 6 weeks. He made an appearance at Wembley, didn't play for the month before, hasn't played for the 2 weeks after. These guys now are settling into a decent partnership.
Yeah,
and by the way,
I hear what you say, John, but he was a key man in the Challenge Cup semi-final win as well, wasn't he? I mean, he didn't beat Warrington on his own by any stretch of the imagination, but he was a key man.
Of course he was. But if Chris Chester's going to go and give the backing to Matty Marsh and Dane Chisholm by keeping Maurice Blair, as we said before the start of the game, in the back row, then you repay him for that confidence that he's instilled in you.
Rapidly getting irate John Wells, sending for a lie down at half-time. As Rovers in possession with Seo. Seo is being manhandled to the ground. The last tackle is indicated by Ben Thaler. 30 metres out. They've had plenty of territory and field position. That cannons off a ball. That will be offside. Well, Ben Thaler is saying an accidental offside, and that's why it's only a scrum down and not a penalty.
Yeah, it's such a hard ball not to pick up there. Instinct and everything else tells you kill the play. I mean, how he's played at that. I mean, the rules say you turn your back, you play at the ball. Yeah. But I don't quite understand. That looks like he's trying to get out of the way, if anything. I'm
not sure you can pick the ball up accidentally. So it is a penalty. So it clearly wasn't accidentally. He picked it up deliberately, didn't he, Don? I mean, there's not a... He's picked the ball up deliberately.
Yeah, the accidental where it simply bounces off one player, hits another when you've got no say in the matter. Thus, you're offside if you've got no direct inclination to pick the ball up. That's not the case.
No. Anyway, penalty, and it's going to be a try. It's going to cost them 4, and it's another flying finish for the magnificent man on his flying machine in the corner. It is Josh Mantellato. Check the try.
It's going to the video referee, but I think, shown with the confidence he's shown in finishing the first, he's got great spatial awareness as Mantellato. For such a big man, he knows exactly where he's putting his feet. He's given himself again every chance. Such a I think that's a really, really top draw finish, that, under some real pressure.
John, the change in finishing since they changed the law on the corner flag, the ability, the acrobatic ability of these wingers, and it's almost all the wingers now, isn't it, can get the ball down in the slightest of space. I
think it's psychological as much as anything else, because you always had athletic and acrobatic finishes in the corner. Removing the corner post, I think, has had more of a psychological effect and a switch in that mental register when it gets close to that try line, that they can do that little bit more, leaving the body, getting the body out of the field and in the air, getting that ball down under some control. It's a really well played move. Maurice Blair, I was just commenting, wasn't I, about the final third and their attacking ability, but maybe Maurice Blair's got a little sick of playing second fiddle and got involved himself.
Well, we questioned, didn't we, John, at the start of the game, whether it's the right thing to have Maurice Blair, that has been playing at half-back, stuck on an edge in a channel as the left second row forward. Maybe that's why Chris Chester's got him there, that when he wants to bring that play, he has that vision, that ball-playing ability to switch a play back and hit the likes of Montalto. I mean, that try scored was almost the carbon copy of his first try, wasn't it? Two defenders clearing across, and you're quite right, it's revolutionised wingers' try-scoring abilities now, removing the corner flag.
Josh Montalto now 6 tries in the qualifiers, and we recall 4 tries in the cup tie at Bradford as they started their run to Wembley. Well, he's halfway to that tally, that try tally today. Can he land a goal from the difficult conversion? No, he cannot. 8-4 to Hull KR.
And all 8 of those points rather, belong to the left winger. This was his first beautiful ball over the top. Montalto takes that right foot. I think that's superb. There's an awful lot of thought that's gone into that. And here's the one that he's just scored. I think that's arguably an even better finish. Acrobatic and determined, and holder of all 8 points for the Robins.
2 finishes that were absolutely exquisite from Josh Montalto. One of the finest sights in rugby league, the flying finish from the winger a la John Wells many years ago.
I think Jimmy Lowes will be really disappointed with that try being conceded so early. I'll play one from a tap set where the ball's being switched back. No defensive team should be giving away a try so early in the tackle count. If it's play 5 and 6 and you're stretched to breaking point, you can almost accept it. Not on play 1.
Well, Hull KR showing a little bit of confidence now as we get to the back end of this first half of this Super 8 qualifiers tie, looking for more points to stretch away. Just 4 points in it. They have had the majority of possession and field position and territory, but just the 2 tries to show for it.
Well, of all the statistics you can say, I mean, missed tackles, the Bulls 8 at the moment, double Robins at 4, but the only statistic that matters really is the scoreboard.
They've got Dixon into open field. Dixon's got the pace. Can he beat the last man? Yes, he can. That's a great try. That's a sensational finish from Kieran Dixon. Really was. Fleet of foot, the fast feet of Kieran Dixon, making defenders miss and then finishing in some style. Great try from Kieran Dixon. 12-4 Hull KR.
And it's 2 tries in 2 minutes for the Robins. Kieran Dixon, he knows the way to the try, and I think this has been a move that should have been on the cards a long time ago. The experiment at fullback, well, he had mixed reviews. You know when you give this man some space, he's going to take advantage, just the sheer pace, and then some brilliant footwork to finish. Great work, Kieran Dixon. Hull KR open up an 8-point lead in the most dramatic of fashions. Look at the pace. Staccato footwork, the in, the out, the determination. Superb try.
Lovely ball, wasn't it, from Graham Horne? Just canted up to the line, draws the man, tips literally off his right wrist. And Dixon one-on-one. There's 3 players there he's gone past, and a one-on-one to finish it. Outstanding effort.
Well, Dixon is back with 3 tries in the last 2 games. And look, John, there were plenty of people wanting to hang him out to dry after what happened at Wembley, but there isn't a sportsman alive who hasn't played any sport, who hasn't had a nightmare somewhere, and his was a misfortune of having it on the biggest stage of all. But he's come back here. I mean, he was in tears at Wembley. He's come back here and he's performed in the last 2 games, and I think, full credit to the lad.
Well, when you look at that's the true test of someone's character, isn't it? When things don't go right, as they invariably do in all walks of life, and the mistakes that people make, it's how you respond to them. And I think in professional sports sometimes that's amplified, isn't it? And there is even less room for manoeuvre. Particularly on the biggest stage. I think you have to take your hat off him to the way he's responded.
Having an off day at Wembley is probably one of the least thing that's ever happened to Kieran Dixon. That knee injury that he sustained could end with people in, he could have ended up in a wheelchair. It was that bad. It was a horrific knee injury. 12 months later, he's played at Wembley.
So the wingers between them with 3 tries, 2 for Mantellato, 1 for Dixon. Mantellato has scooped it wide. To be fair to Mantellato, he's had kicks from the most difficult of angles and hasn't managed to nail in any of them. And in fact, last week against Wakefield, Wakefield's missed kicks came to Holkar's aid. They really won the game because of missed Wakefield goal kicks. Today, we haven't seen a successful goal kick. We've seen, though, some great tries, John.
That's worth one for the highlight reel. He'll be getting his mum to clip that up, I think. He's the scorer of some breathtaking tries, isn't he, Kieran Dixon? The long this debate will rage about where his best position is on the field. I think for now, in that rebuilding of confidence and that reintroduction of doing exactly what he does best, what you've just seen, I think the wing's a good position for him.
Well, 3 tries then, and 2 in quick succession in the corners from Mantellato and from Dixon have given Rovers more than a converted tries advantage as we move towards the half-time siren for the favourites for this Super 8 qualifiers. They and Widnes started this as favourites, but their win at Widnes has catapulted Rovers to the top not only of the betting but also to the top of the table, more importantly. And here they are moving it around with Graham Horn. It's a forward pass. The second time we've seen a forward pass from Rovers this afternoon, and it was forward.
Having looked at the last 10 or 15 minutes now, how that's gone, Paul, if you're James Lowes and you're a very experienced coach in your time, how do you get Bradford refocused for the second half, and what's the instruction to them?
Your first objective is very, very simple, and the first 40 minutes literally tells the story itself. If you're going to give a Super League side, a top 8 side like Hull Kingston Rovers, so much cheap possession, free ball, so much fielder position, you're going to pay the price. Again, at 12-4, I think Bradford will go in, almost going, thank goodness, we're only 12-4 down.
I think fair to say that there have been more highs than lows this season for the Bradford Bulls coach.
Bum. I'll strike that one off. I'll strike that one off your list.
Stick with me, John. Now the Bulls then on the attack. I tell you what, if they could nick a try, even unconverted.
Yeah, put a different complexion on that half-time team.
Absolutely, and we've seen that happen this week in Super League matches, haven't we? Look at Hull FC last night. Their rat-a-tat-tat finish to the first half put a different complexion on that game at Wigan. The ball is spilled, though, immediately as I say that, by the Bradford Bulls, and Danny Addy is the culprit.
Ron, I actually think Bradford needs to change tack. They've tried to move the ball wide all afternoon. They've had one success where they've scored out on the left wing, but it was almost the case because Hull Kingston Rovers kept giving them the ball back at that point. For me, I'd go more direct at Hull Kingston Rovers. They've got some really big props. Their size can be your downfall sometimes because you lack the agility to defend. Get out of dummy half. Jimmy Lowes was probably one of the best at it. Get O'Brien out of dummy half. Work the big men from Hull Kingston Rovers over in the middle of the field. If you keep shifting it wide and throwing the ball on the floor, they're going to rattle up 50.
Well, Bradford Bulls started this afternoon in 5th spot in the qualifying table with 4 points, same as the Wakefield Wildcats, who are playing Widnes later on this evening, and 2 ahead of Lee and the Sheffield Eagles. Now it's Lee versus Bradford next weekend. That is a biggie. Lee v Bradford, there it is. Next Saturday, 3 o'clock, live on Sky Sports 1. Well worth tuning in for that. And, well, who knows who will be in this? The £1 million game. Whoever finishes 4th and 5th in the qualifiers play in that match on Saturday, October the 3rd, live on Sky Sports 1 for a place in the 2016 Super League. Dixon with some Strictly Come Rugby League as he dances away from a couple. He's not dancing away from Luaki, is he? No.
That's brilliant from Luaki. We've just seen what Kieran Dixon is capable of, the footwork, but Luaki's gone the old-fashioned way. I'm wondering whether there's been a little bit extra in there as well, though.
It might be too old-fashioned, John, mightn't it?
I think maybe a finger in the eye at the end of this. I'm not suggesting it was intentional, but there's perhaps something. Well, yeah, maybe
you
could
put your hand near someone's eye, John. Paul, your view?
He'll do well to stay on the field for that, for my opinion. Luaki's absolutely monstered him. He's marched him back 5 metres. There's no attack. He's just grabbed him in the face and bent his neck backwards. He'll do well to stay on the field.
What on earth has he done that for?
Well, it looks from our pictures like a clear sending off. Fingers in the eye, a pulling motion. Let's listen to Ben Taylor.
and you've gone right in his eye. You go in for 10, and you've got to sort it out next back.
Well done, Ben Thaler. Well done, Ben Thaler. Very clear explanation to the team captain and to the player involved. That's not acceptable at any level. Yep, scrape across the face. I'd be reluctant to call it a gouge, but certainly a scrape across the face. Yeah, there's no place for that at all.
No.
Right decision, well done, Ben.
Is he fortunate to get only 10 minutes?
Well, I think the shades of what happened last night, wasn't it, with Sam Powell?
I think it was worse than last night's, wasn't it? That what we've just seen there is worse than the Sam Powell incident, isn't it, Paul?
Well, you can't. I think last night should have been sent off, in my opinion. You simply can't go there. If you're putting your fingers near someone's eye, you're not going to tackle him, are you? You know, the ball's not in his eye. What on earth is he thinking of?
No, totally unacceptable. We'll see what the Rugby League's disciplinary panel makes of it this week and what sort of ban there may be, if any. OK, just at the back end of the half, 40 seconds left. Can Rovers make that pay? No, they can't. Then Tills gets an absolutely impossible pass. Remember, he's 8'6". No, sorry, 6'8", and he wasn't going to get down that low for that.
He looks like he's 8'6".
Well, I think if there's we're talking about a half-time team talk from Jimmy Lowe's and what that might look like. Well, I think Chris Chester might have a few words to say as well. I mean, they've played, well, it'll have been 12 minutes against 12 men, because Luaki's been gone now for a minute. They've had a host of opportunities in that final third of the field. They've taken very few of them and have actually had three superb finishes from the left wing and the right wing that have collected all the points. Not an awful lot of structure involved in that.
No. Well, both sides look, don't they, like they're playing with you know, second and third choice halfbacks with all due respect, because that's the way it's turned out at the back end of the season. For me, I just think Bradford should be more direct, right on the half-time.
Still a play for Bradford. Now it's nullified, and that will be the interval here at the KC Lightstream Stadium. So 2 sin binnings for Bradford, but 2 tries for Josh Mantellato. Both spectacular scores in the wing. Another brilliant finish from Kieran Dixon. None of them goal though by Mantellato. And at the other end, a try for the Bulls for their winger, Danny Williams. So it's 12-4 at half-time to OKR. They're on course for a 5th straight win and a place.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of Rugby League on Sky Sports.
The inside story of England's greatest rugby triumph.
I want to be way better than anyone else in the world. We train so hard.
Johnny Wilkinson, Martin Johnson and Sir Clive Woodward.
We're in the World Cup final next week, mate. Come on! It's the only kick I've ever done in my career where I haven't thought about it.
Building Jerusalem. Available on DVD and Blu-ray Monday.
If there's no home for nature, there will be no nature. If you build it, they will come. For your free guide to give nature a home where you live, text HOME to 80010. RSPB, giving nature a home.
Your car could be taken at any moment, and there's not a lot you can do about it. You may have paid good money for it, but that doesn't mean it's yours. 1 in 4 cars checked by HPI is still on finance. Buy one of these, and you're buying someone else's debt. You could lose your car and your money. Don't risk it. Check it now at hpicheck.com.
Who knows? One of these kids just might be the one to clean the oceans, start a movement, or lead a country. It may not be obvious yet, but one of these kids is going to change the world. We just need to make sure she has what she needs. Welcome to Windows 10. The future starts now for all of us.
This is not going to be easy, lads. You've got to fight. Put your neck on the line. There'll be big decisions to make. You must be first to score. The right decisions will make all the difference. Here's a great offer from Betfred. Betfred, passionate about rugby league. Keep it fun. Gamble responsibly.
There's something wrong with Nan and Papa.
Would you mind getting inside the oven?
No!
The Visit.
She's got it. A remarkable upset win. Roberta Vinci. Serena Williams, her historic run in 2015 comes to a sad end.
Having stunned Serena and the sporting world, Roberta Vinci now goes in search of her first Grand Slam title against fellow Italian Flavia Pannetta, who has the same ambition and who leads their head-to-head 5-4. Before that, Jamie Murray and John Peers face the French duo Herbert and Mahou in the men's doubles final. Our live coverage begins at 5 o'clock on Sky Sports 2.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of Rugby League on Sky Sports.
Welcome back to the KC Lightstream Stadium. Later on tonight, Catalans versus Leeds Rhinos. The Rhinos looking to re-establish a 2-point lead at the top of Super League after Wigan's win last night. 5 o'clock, Sky Sports 5. The Dragons against the Rhinos. Here in Hull, Rovers lead 12 points to 4. All the tries have been unconverted. Josh Mantellato with 2 and Kieran Dixon, spectacular scores for Rovers, and James Mandika, the Bulls fullback, on the mark for James Lowe's side. 8-point lead to Rovers. John Wells and Paul Cullen are with me. Chaps, have a look back at the first 40 minutes for us with your expert eyes, will you?
Yeah, well, thank you, Rod. We started and we finished the half, didn't we, with 2 Bradford sin binnings. I think we're going to discuss the merits of each of those at the end of this. This was the first professional foul from Danny Williams on Kieran Dixon. There's no need for that. Jimmy Lowe's would be incredibly disappointed with that. And then a knock-on from Mendika, just the smallest, but they all count for the same. It all ends up with Hull KR ball. And it was the Robbins who was the first to cross in the corner. Have a look at the right foot. I'll keep talking about this. He checked and placed that right foot as close to the edge of the field as he could. Great try.
There's Danny Williams trying to get himself back into the game, cross the field, wins the collision, quick play the ball. Big Dane Tilts can't react, and that puts the Bulls on the front foot. From the midline, the 50%, Bradford shift the ball across field. Just look now at the body language of the hooker, O'Brien. Shapes to the right, comebacks left. You've got enough numbers. You can't be outnumbered in that position. And Hull Kingston Rovers pay the price.
That was on 25 minutes. Fast forward, 7 minutes before the end of the half, and Josh Mantellato gets his second. He was put into position with an accidental offside, given away against Dane Tills, and then a superb first play into the corner. Mantellato, what a finish.
Then here's that big play, left to right across the field. Just look at the beautiful ball from Horn in the centre. And Dixon, a lot to do. 3 players to beat. He's rounded 2. Does the last man one-on-one. That's a superb winger score.
Dixon, the focus of the try, and then the focus fell to Efalami Luwaki. Great drive, great attitude in the initial stages, but then, oh dear, what is that? It's a terrible, terrible decision from Luwaki.
I generally think he's lucky to be only getting 10 minutes for that. And here's the conundrum. You know, Danny Williams gets 10 minutes for grabbing a jersey, and Luwaki gets the same thing for grabbing across the eyes. I don't quite understand it.
Hull KR then 12 points to 4. offloads. Bradford, well, they outstrip Hull KR 7-5, but it's about the quality of the offloads as much as the actual statistical numbers.
Yeah, and the down on completion, it's only 65% off only 17 sets. That tells us Bradford are doing it tough without the ball. That will take its toll at some point in the second half.
So that's the statistical data, and that's given us a scoreline at half-time of Hull Kingston Rovers 12, Bradford Bulls 4. The second 40 minutes is coming up, and it's live.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of Rugby League on Sky Sports.
The inside story of England's greatest rugby triumph.
I want to be way better than anyone else in the world. We train so hard.
Johnny Wilkinson, Martin Johnson and Sir Clive Woodward.
In the World Cup final next week, mate. Come on! It's the only kick I've ever done in my career where I haven't thought about it.
Building Jerusalem. Available on DVD Monday.
If there's no home for nature, there will be no nature. If you build it, they will come. Give nature a home where you live. For your free guide, text HOME to 70030 RSPB, giving nature a home.
This is more than a cup of coffee. This is a story that began with a father's advice. The story of Luigi Lavazza, who was curious enough to take a leap into the unknown. Who selected coffees from lands far and wide to create the blend. Luigi Lavazza, the magician, the master of Italian coffee.
But what was his father's advice?
In life, there is always more to taste.
You suffer from despair.
I haven't been able to perform in nearly a year.
That's just one of his problems.
And over the fields we roam. But no matter where we drift, there's really no place like home. British Gas, helping you look after your home.
Who knows? One of these kids just might be the one to clean the oceans, start a movement, or lead a country. It may not be obvious yet, but one of these kids is going to change the world. We just need to make sure she has what she needs. Welcome to Windows 10. The future starts now for all of us.
Available to buy and keep in Sky Store now.
You're all puppets tangled in strings. There are no strings on me.
That's the best you can do! You had to ask. Buy and keep Avengers Age of Ultron now. You'll get it straight to your TV, across your devices, and the DVD direct to your home. Avengers Age of Ultron, available in Sky Store now.
I've got the blues, and I'm going to sing about it. Lenny Henry's Got the Blues starts Friday at 10 on Sky Arts.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of Rugby League on Sky Sports.
Coming up tomorrow on the popular Sky Sports Extra or on the Sky Sports for iPad app. Huddersfield versus the Warrington Wolves, 3 o'clock kickoff there. And straight off the back, bonus match, Salford Red Devils against the Sheffield Eagles. That in the qualifiers. which is precisely the competition that we're watching here at the KC Lightstream Stadium, where table-topping Hull Kingston Rovers have a 12-4 buffer on the Bradford Bulls at the break. A brace for Mantellato. One for Dixon, one for Mendika for the Bradford Bulls, who will start this half short-handed after that, well, fingers in the eye incident with Luaki in the bin. Chris Chester's side are up by 8.
We're being generous there, aren't we? Fingers in the eye incident, I think.
Okay. I thought it was, like you and Paul, I thought it was absolutely appalling.
Yeah, I think the more times I've had to review that, and we looked at that a couple of times in the half-time break, I've got a word underlined twice here on my little notes. It was a bad action. No place for that in our game at all.
Again, it'll be another one before the RFL disciplinary. I wonder how strict they will be about that. Now, slight delay to the start of the half. There's I think Ben Thaler is getting rewired for sound. There's Luaki sitting in the sin bin, and he'll be there really for the first 10 minutes of the half.
Ben Thaler forgot to set his video recorder. It'll be a couple of minutes yet. I'll just work that out and then.
Bit of rewiring for either referee or touch judge at the start of the half. Okay, our fans back in numbers here for this game that they believe and hope will be the game that clinches their place back in the Super League for 2016. It looks a formality that they'll get the points they need at some point, with a couple of games left to play against the Sheffield Eagles and the Salford Red Devils. Well, Ben Thaler is always keen to have a little quip or two, and he's doing so now, but you do wonder if he's going to have to just get out there and crack on with it.
What, referee a game without communications?
Has that ever happened before?
Yeah.
Not that I can remember.
The 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s, etc, etc.
Ironic cheers from the crowd as Ben Thaler makes his way back to the middle. We're going to get this one underway, Rod.
Come on, Ben. Let's crack on with it. Here he goes. The ever amiable Ben Thaler gets us underway in this second half, and Bradford kick it off, and Hull KR get first use, and remember they're 13 against 12.
And by the way, the referees, while we're on Ben Thaler, they do get an awful lot of criticism, and I think I'm right up there with in the lead of that sometimes, but he's got such a good way with him with the players on the field. I think the players do respect talking to the players and the communication as equals. He doesn't speak down to anybody. He's not authoritarian.
Well, with Phil Bentham and Richard Silverwood out of action in terms of on-field action at the moment, with injuries and what have you, a lot of the referees are having to work overtime. Ben Thaler doing his second game of the weekend. Joe Cobb did 2 in basically 24 hours last weekend, and I don't care what anybody says, it's not easy, physically and mentally to referee 2 games in a short space of time.
And in that colour of yellow as well. It's a terrible strip, isn't it?
Interesting. The kick goes high. That's a high one as well. No one knows where it is. Seemed to be spilled by Bradford from our vantage point. Seemed to be spilled by James Mendika, and that is the view too of Ben Thaler. And another scrum down against the short-handed Bulls spells more problems for the championship.
Yeah, Mendika came late for this. He nearly got there. He made the decision late because I think the guys underneath the ball were not confident, and nobody had made a clear choice. I think as Mendika grows into his role at fullback, he needs to learn to make a clear early call, I think, is the significant thing there.
And by default, that turns out to be a very, very good kick on behalf of Hull Kingston Rovers, as it points back to the comment I made right at the start of the game. You can't kick the ball too long and too flat to fullbacks and let them catch the ball easy. If they've got to come forward into traffic, it always goes in your favour. So by default, it wasn't the greatest kick, because it simply went up and short and came back, but it's done the job. It's put pressure on James Mendika, and he spilled the ball.
They're already up by 8 points here, Hull KR. If they stretch away to 12 or 14, it'll be a very, very difficult task for the Bradford Bulls. Tilts is rambling through. Well, apologies for the loss of sound. We are back. I gather you still have the pictures, and you will have seen, like us, Kieran Dixon getting his second try of the afternoon. Another one-handed finish from the winger. Again, another very, very high-class finish. His second of the game, a brace apiece for Mantellato and for Dixon.
It's the ball from Chisholm. It's the lofted pass that gets over the Bradford defence. Tip on from McCarthy. Horn finds his man in the corner. It's a one-handed, confident finish from Dixon. 2 tries apiece for the wingers.
If you look at that line then, defensively, it's all over the place. They're a man short because Lowaki is sat in the stand. You've got centres flying in, wingers hanging back, and Hulkingston Rovers doing exactly what they need to do when you're playing against the team that's had 2 men down throughout that first half, and it moves into the second period. Shift the ball wide and find out where the gaps are, and they're usually outside the opposition winger.
Well, they just simply had too much firepower, too much pace and too much class out wide. All 4 tries coming on the flanks. Mantellato hasn't been able to add the extras to any of the previous 3. That's not a bad effort, but it's still unsuccessful. So 0 from 4 for Mantellato, 16-4.
This was the play before. They went down the short side, crowded. Seo gets himself pulled down, and have a look at the effect. The guys at the top of your picture desperately trying to get numbers out. Look at the numbers around the ball. You know there's going to be a shortage elsewhere on the field. Chisholm's lofted pass took Purtell out of the equation, and then it was a case of getting through the hands to Dixon. Great try.
Kickoff goes deep, collected by Rovers. Well, it could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? If the goals had been kicked, they haven't been. The difference is 12. Let's go down to the sideline and get some half-time news from Terry O'Connor. Good afternoon to you, Terry.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Rod. I've been talking with Chris Chester as he left the dressing room, and they were very happy with the first half performance. They want the pressure to be kept on the halfbacks, keep taking the game to them and keep playing direct, take away a lot of their energy when they're trying to go forward. They've been very impressed with the bench. They think that's been the difference. They've brought on a lot of aggression in defence, and they've been superb in attack as well, so they want to keep it up. Well, for James Lowe disappointed with the lads who got Simbin. He thought they've really let the teammates down. They want to play off more some fast rucks and just don't go away from the game plan.
Thanks, Terry, because Hockey are going through again. They're going to score again also. It's another try. It's a strolling in the end for Dancing Dame Chisholm, and suddenly the floodgates are beginning to open here as the Super League sides show their class to some tune. 2 quick tries at the start of the second half, and now it's 20 points to 4.
Well, we've said many times during that first half that at some point Bradford Bulls would pay the price for their indiscipline. Men in the sin bin. You're dropping off tackles, they're offloading the ball, and just look at the width. A left foot step goes right through a massive hole, and Dame Chisholm beats 2 men to scores under the sticks. Now, you really shouldn't be scoring tries at this level without a finger generally being laid on you. Just look at the quality. There's holes everywhere. Left foot step clearly through. Skip, step, back off the left, and a scrape of a fingernail, and that's not good enough.
Really well-balanced runner, isn't he, Dane Chisholm? Graham Horn giving him the pat on the head in only his 6th appearance in a Robin shirt. He'll take the plaudits because that was a superb individual try. Created in the middle from James Green. Lovely offload, but the tackle's starting to fall off alarmingly now for Bradford.
And this sin-binning of Lowaki, far more costly than the one in the first half. That only cost them 4. This one has already cost them double digits. Well, it will have after Mantellato strokes this over. Hasn't kicked one this afternoon. Giving him this one, a gimme for the man who was, for a long period of the season, Super League's leading point scorer.
It was very interesting listening to the comments there from Terry O'Connor after speaking to James Lowe at half-time. And knowing Jimmy Lowe as well as I do, he won't pull any punches. He was disappointed with the way that Danny Williams and Efalami Lowaki have let his teammates down. That won't be missed, because that's what happened. You know, there's not any damage done to it at any opposition. It's not a crunching tackle. You're simply giving the game away by unprofessionally behaving in such a manner.
Well, the big beneficiary could be Lee Centurions, because, well, I wouldn't like to predict what on earth the disciplinary committee might do, but you would think there'd be a ban coming for that, wouldn't it, John? And Bradford play Lee next weekend.
And not you take the disciplinary out of it. I think what happens in this next half an hour is going to be crucial, because it's a massive game for the Bradford Bulls. Whatever the result of this, they'll be looking to take something out of today's game to take into next weekend, which is it's a huge match in the context of both clubs. But Hull KR now, they're marching upfield very, very easily. Tyrone Smith evading the clutches of Chev Walker, dances back across field. They're growing in confidence, aren't they?
Just a final point on that Luaki incident. There are rugby league coaches and football managers that I know would have told him to put his suit on and get straight back on the bus. Even though he'd been sin-binned, they wouldn't entertain the idea of him being back on.
Superb take by Danny Williams. That'll be worth another look, because that was under some real pressure. Again, the kick not great, but I think the Bulls winger made the very, very most of that.
Well, going back to your point, Rod, on Luaki, his 10 minutes is just about done. Bradford getting the ball back there, Williams going high and doing a very good job of trying to correct his earlier error, and Luaki looks like he's going to come back on the field. And you're right, that needs to be left now to disciplinary. What's done has been done. He got 10 minutes, he didn't get a red card. He now gets the chance to get back on the field and make a positive contribution for his team and not such a negative one.
Moving on as Luaki trundles back onto the paddock. It cost them 10, that 10 minutes. He went off with them trailing by 12-4, and he came back on 22-4, the Bulls. And now adrift. John spots Harry Syker on for the Bradford Bulls, a former Wakefield halfback.
Well, I think halfback being the operative word. I think they've got somebody there who can perhaps put a play together. A link man. I'm looking to see if Danny Addy's still on the field. Danny Addy looks to be the man who is replaced.
He's still
there. No, I beg your pardon. He's in the middle. Yep.
Rovers in possession. Kick through, too high, too long. Yes, out on the full. Relief for the Bradford Bulls as the kick is overcooked.
So you've got arguably there, an authentic half-back pairing now for the Bulls. It'd be interesting to see. The pressure is off them, arguably. 18 points adrift.
Well, there's been a lot of talk, and I think valid talk as well, John, in the last week about how points difference could affect the placings in the middle eights, the Super 8 qualifiers. With Bradford at the moment, they started play at -11 in points difference with 4 competition points. Just above them, Wakefield plus 21 with 4 competition points. So important that they don't capsize completely. They need to keep the ship afloat here, because if they go down by 30, 40, 50, then it will make a difference.
Regardless of what may happen in the league table and other games in the next few weeks, 18 points is not undoable. If Bradford can finish this game, the next 30 minutes, we're on 50 now, with 13 men on the field, and they readapt and bring in some professionalism, keep the ball, they can put Hull Kingston Rovers under pressure. You'd like to think from Hull Kingston Rovers' point of view they should be well clear, but they're not. It's only 3 scores.
Well, here's Syker, newly introduced into the fray, skipping back inside. Bradford Bulls with Dane Nielsen, and now Luaki, the villain of the piece, taken down by Dane Tilse. O'Brien comes in at dummy half for the Bulls. Now Patil to Addy to Walker, and Walker spinning, looking for a gap. Chev Walker once strutted his stuff on this very pitch for Rovers. Patel kicks back against the grain. It looks to have too much meat on it, and it will be a 20-metre restart. And these pacey Rovers flyers can get this 20-metre restart going very, very quickly. It was Kensio to Mantalato, who crashes into a couple of challenges.
Great yards, great link play between the fullback and the winger. I just thought Patel maybe acted a little soon there. Maybe had a 4 versus 3 on that short side. There's some action off the ball. Mantalato is not happy with the contact that Danny Addy made in that last tackle.
No doubt about it. Bit of jersey pulling, jumper pulling, push and shove. Referee Failer has sorted it out on the run, and play continues here on the halfway line. 3rd tackle. Rovers fans screaming for another penalty. It's not forthcoming. They're still in possession. This ball evades Tilse and comes further left, and now just 5 or 6 metres inside the Bradford half of the field. Budebza is in at dummy half. Low ball that was well picked up there by the previous try scorer Chisholm. Now they're moving with pace. That's a forward pass if ever I've seen one.
Just drifted forward. Now, I spoke about Kieran Dixon not being a natural ball player. I'm not sure Kensio is either, but he's offering something at least. That one drifted forward. Take your pick there. Forward pass, knock on. Forward pass, the first offence. And Hull KR, yes, they are 18 points clear, but as you say, Paul, they're not put this to bed. And Bradford, an 18-point deficit is not unsurmountable.
No, and Bradford's left edge then didn't back off too far and give it away. They moved up. They were in shape. You know, the winger Williams wasn't too far back waiting for a kick. He was in the way and he made a nuisance of himself. And John, that's all it takes sometimes, doesn't it? Just get in the eye of a ball player and it's a fraction the ball hits the floor. You know, Luaki can possibly try and get his team back in with professional conduct now. That's what he does well. He's very, very difficult to stop.
He's playing his part, isn't he, as the pantomime villain, and so are the crowd. They're really fired up.
Well, you think that literally anything could happen every time Epalami Luaki gets the ball in his hands, because you feel there's going to be some seismic collision between him and some of the big men, the big boys in the whole KR pack. The Bulls reach tackle 4. O'Brien does well. Saika stepping. Saika close to the line and over the line, but possibly held up, I think, and couldn't get the ball to ground.
Smart change of direction on the play. It's the last tackle, certainly the handover.
No, that was the 5th, John, I think. They've got one more, haven't they? Have they? Or have they? Yes, they have, haven't they?
Yeah, back to the 10.
Yeah,
tackled in goal.
Thought it was the 5th. Thought it was the 5th. This is the 5th. This is the last. There will be no more after this. Addy grubbers through. Well, that is meat and tatey to the Hull KR defence.
Well, he could have posted. He could have posted that, Rob. It was an absolute gift. You know, I'm almost speechless that you're going to work to one end of the field, Rod, and allow them just to have the ball back so easily. I like O'Brien. I think Bradford should go more from dummy half. When he does go, he causes those big Hulkinston Rovers problems in the middle of the field. We've had 2 very, very ordinary kicks now from Bradford. It takes an awful lot to get from one end of the field to the other. You simply can't give them the ball back for nothing.
When speechless, Paul, the vernacular is I can't spake. Halfway line for Hull KR. Last tackle is Rees. Not a bad defensive stint then for the Bradford Bulls. The kick comes, it's a grubber. Should be mocked up by Williams, who comes in from his left flank and goes away from half a challenge from Matty Mars, but eventually he's knocked down. Was there second helpings? No. Play on. Was he square? Yes, he was. 10 metres from the halfway line. The Bulls want a penalty. Ben Thaler's not interested. They play on. They're already 18 behind. They have to score next and they have to score soon. Only 25 minutes left at the KC Lightstream. And remember, after this, we've got Leeds at Catalan. They get an overlap with a ball that appears to be drifting forward. The ball is knocked on. Danny Williams got free on the sideline, but his ball inside was ultimately knocked on. That may be the chance. That may be the final chance.
Well, once in some space, Danny Williams, he did the right thing in terms of drawing the fullback across in Ken Seo and committed the fullback as well. There was a hint of forward about that pass as well. Once in some space, yep, down on the right foot, that's correct. The ball on the inside wasn't great. Matt Ryan probably could have done it with a bit closer as well to his wing partner. It's important to know the skill set of your teammates, and I'm not sure that the passing at full speed is one of them for Danny Williams. He's a runner out now.
Yeah, the double pump didn't help him at all. Pass early and allow the receiver to get a good grip on the ball. You're putting him under far too much pressure.
Kieran Dixon did very well positioning, didn't he, to get to worry Matt Ryan and Danny Williams.
Well, the Hull KR fans on that far side saw something we couldn't see from this near side. They wanted a penalty. Touch judge and referee again stayed silent, and play continues for the Rovers, who lead by 18 here at the KC Lightstream Stadium as the clock ticks towards the 56th minute. Chisholm and Marsh at half-back this afternoon for Rovers. Albert Kelly, remember, out for the season. We haven't mentioned Lee Gaskell, of course, out with bruised kidneys for the Bradford Bulls. Such an influential figure for them. Oh, knocked on again. Well, it's knocked on both ways, so it won't cost them an immediate 4-pointer, but it is going to cost them a real defensive job here. Mendika knocks on again, and it was spilled instantaneously by Rovers, by Budebsa.
He got up a fraction too early for that ball. I think worried by the oncoming chase. It's always important to back a decent kick up with a decent chase. Maurice Blair right in Mendika's eye line. The challenge for a fullback there is to concentrate and block out any other distracting factors, and I'm sure that would have had an effect, because the more I look at this, just a fraction of a second, he's got up there too early.
For me, John, I think he should have stayed on the floor. There's no need to jump. That's the experience. You know, I think Paul Wellens in that position would have just made the mark and dropped with the ball and gone to ground. No, what we're talking about, James Mendika, who's played a number of positions and he's doing his best.
CO goes through. See you later. CO try. 26-4. OKR. That a sign that the fatigue factor is creeping in, that the petrol gauge is running close to empty, the light is flashing red. We mentioned before the match that the Bradford Bulls have had a stomach bug go through the camp. I wonder if that is beginning to take its toll. 26-4 OKR.
So it's Mendika's mistake under the high ball. We were debating the whys and wherefores of that. OKR weren't waiting for us to explain, and Ken CO it is who takes full advantage from the restart. Here's the mistake. Paul was just saying about Mendika probably had time to stay on the floor. He was worried into the air early from Donaldson and Blair's chase, and then through the hands, out the back to CO, and he just drifts across the defensive line, fools Danny Williams into going, and takes full advantage himself.
Great shift, great whip, and just look at the quality of the passes, all hit the fingers. The lovely little show and go. Danny Williams caught up with the threat of Kieran Dixon, gave the inside shoulder and paid the price.
Ken CO has been a super signing from Parramatta, signed on a 3-year deal at the start of the season. Good business by the KR chairman Neil Hudgell and his board of directors. Spent much of the season right at the very top of the Super League try scorers charts, of course, having to play, well, his last 4.5 matches in the qualifiers. Can't really count him as being in and amongst the big hitters, right up there with Joe Burgess and Tom Lynham and co. But 20 tries season, very good business. Mantellato, he hasn't had he's had one simple gimme conversion. The rest of them have been high tariff kicks. They like that one. No wonder. Slight smile from Josh Mantellato as he's the toast of the popular stand. 28-4.
Another 6 points for Hull KR, courtesy the bomb from Blair, but look at the orange boots there from Donaldson, really taking the meters off, and I think worrying Mendika into an early catch, getting up off the floor. And then of course Chris Chester's, well, I think one of his key signings, Ken CO, taking full advantage from the scrum.
Well, the Hull KR Cup final anthem of a little respect ringing round the KC Lightstream Stadium. You like erasure, John?
Only when I make a mistake with my pencil.
Oh, very good. Coming up next, Catalan Dragons versus the Leeds Rhinos from 5 o'clock here on Sky Sports 5. Rhinos will now level on points with Wigan Warriors after their, well, closer than expected squeak against Hull FC at the DW, but they did draw level with Leeds on points. Catalan Dragons, of course, can't qualify for the top 4, but looking to beat
Great line.
Chris Wellham, size through. He's got up. Oh, he doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. There were dummies going everywhere. He was selling dummies to the Bradford Bulls like there was no tomorrow. He had players on both sides, and in the end, he just strolled over the try line. And Chris Wellham gets his 100th try. Turn up for Chris Wellham.
Well done, Chris Wellham. Well done indeed, because you created that try from way back inside your own half. The line you hit is superb and forces Amaricaro into a despairing tackle. Mendika should have listened on the inside to Adam Siglow's calls, who was covering the inside pass. But worry not, 100 tries in club colours, and you get that with determination in your running lines that Chris Wellham just displayed, and some kidology at the end there to send Mendika off. Boy, he's pleased.
John, I really like the depth of Chris Wellham's on his start position. Hasn't overrun his halfback, has given him chance to go up and over, committed defender, bring the outside edge in, straight, cuts in and then goes away. Real quality vision from a quality centre.
And he was confident well, wasn't he? He must have had that scribbled on his hand before kick-off today.
How many weeks has he had that on, I wonder? 100 in 188 for Chris Wellham. Selling dummies like he was playing against a team of expectant mothers. The Bradford Bulls starting to fall apart a little bit here. Remember, just 12-4 at the intermission, and 4 tries have now followed in this second period. 1 for Dixon, 1 for Chisholm, 1 for Siam, 1 for Chris Wellham. That landmark touchdown, his 100th. And Mantellato looking to stretch the lead to 30 points.
Not often you see that 33% by his name either.
Well, you can take it down a bit, John. Do you want to work out the new percentage?
Not right now.
Well,
I'll tell you something.
I'll help you. It's 2 out of 7.
I'll tell you what the man who just popped into your screen there, Chris Wellham, I think despite the 2 tries from Kieran Dixon and the 2 tries from Mantellato and the acrobatics and the professional finishing of both, I think that's the try of the game. Superb break from the inside. Great ball from Dane Chisholm. And a finish to boot. It's a cracker for his 100th.
28%, John, the kicking percentage now for...
I just gave you 20 seconds to do that mathematics.
For Josh Mantellato, as you said, not really the best, but they have been pretty difficult conversions in his defence, and it's going to be an afternoon when the kicking percentage is not going to be of any great import. Well, they're rounding it up, John, aren't they? They're rounding it up, John.
Now, pound for pound, you know, if Man of Steel was worked on pound for pound, Josh Mantellato would be right up there at the end of the season. In terms of reputation, what he's done before, and salary cap and potential wages that he's on, without me being too rude whatsoever, pound for pound, he's up there with anyone.
Well, what criteria do you judge on? You know, the impact that individual's had on your team, on the teams that he's played against, because, you know, he's averaging over 10 points a game in 2015. That's huge.
Man of Steel for me has got to go across the board. For you, for your club, for the game.
I think it's a very open race this year, isn't it? Because we could all name 2 or 3 players and maybe not get the right answer between the 3 of us. Quite an open field. It may yet emerge, the Man of Steel, over the next few weeks as we get to the real business end of this Super League season, as we approach the top 4 playoffs. Which we know will be Leeds and Wigan and Huddersfield and St Helens, unless Castleford have got some sort of mathematical miracle in store in the next fortnight. And that's what Bradford need here, because they're 28 adrift and we're inside the final quarter of this match. Again, the second half has proved difficult for Championship sides against the Super League opposition.
It's not just if I would go back to these 2 sets of yellow cards. It's not just the time when the player's missing there and then, and you have to make the adjustments to your defensive line. It's the cumulative effect, the fatigue of having to deal and play with 12 men all that time. But here's a rare break from Bradford, half break at least anyway. Amari Kara not showing the greatest of confidence. We've seen him on this pitch, some exploits over the last couple of years.
The Hammersmith flyer. And there's the big bomb from Harry Syker. Simple, made to look simple by an increasingly confident Kieran Dixon. He's notched twice this afternoon, so was Mantellato.
Well, I'd roughly guess this field's 68 metres wide, and Kieran Dixon was stood in only one of them, and that ball landed on his head.
Paul Cullen with the visual tape measure from up here in the gantry. Great bit of measurement for the 68-metre wide pitch here, Paul.
You've just got to be better with your accuracy of your kick, haven't you? He's only stood in 1 metre. You've got 67 to find, and you don't kick the ball through players. Players sometimes go for the kick magnet. Wherever the fullback or winger is, they appear to kick straight to him.
Tony Pulatua carting the ball forward. Budebza off the bench in at dummy half. They go for the 40-20. It could make the sideline. It doesn't. It just pulls up short, and Caro collects. And Caro moves away from Mantellato. Now he runs into 3 Hull Kingston Rovers. There was nowhere to go for the former Rovers winger, as John said. He had some good nights and good afternoons at Casey Lightstream, but he limps away from that challenge a little gingerly, Omari.
I think perhaps we need to give Kieran Dixon a little more credit. I know he said the kick wasn't superb quality. I was listening to something on the radio on the way over here, and we were talking about Wayne Rooney and his record that he'd reached in an England jersey, and they were saying sometimes it's almost as if the ball finds him rather than him finding the ball, such as his positional sense. I think maybe a little credit needs to be given to Kieran Dixon there for being in the right place, you know, closing down those angles.
You're right, John. Spatial awareness is massive.
Oh, that's a great ball. Flipped over the top towards Williams. Williams kicks through. Is there a Bradford bull on the end of it? Oh, inches away. Inches away, James Mendika. Had that ball pulled up just a little quicker, Mendika would have dotted down. And now some very good refereeing from Ben Thaler, spotting there may have been a problem for Mendika, who'd crashed into the advertising hoardings and just took time for breath to check he was okay. He is okay, and play will continue. Well done, Ben Thaler. It could have been a nasty injury.
Well shadowed by Budebza as well. The kick always had too much gas on it, but Budebza wasn't about to take that chance. I think despite the lead that they're protecting, despite this game, the result being a formality now, I think that showed some great enthusiasm from the French hooker. That's a high shot we're looking at.
Yes.
Replay, Clough sneaking a little high on Wellham. It's a lazy left arm, there's nothing more than that, but it's a penalty nonetheless to Hull KR.
Yes, on consultation with the touch judge, that's been reversed, hasn't it? Well, that's what should have been the decision. So
Ben Thale brave enough to correct the mistake. Originally awarded the loose carry, the knock-on in the tackle, and has gone back for the clear high shot.
Play on the call from Ben Thaler, and Graham Horne, who set up one of Dixon's tries. 2 balls on the pitch, fleet of foot from the touch judge to get rid of one of them, and the game plays on. Dane Tills fancied a rumble, but he never got the football. Tyrone McCarthy, am I the only one who struggles to recognise him without that magnificent facial adornment? One of the best beards in Super League, and now clean-shaven, knocked on.
Oh, good read, Harry Syker. Good read, Harry Syker.
Should still have collected the ball, John, shouldn't he? But he took his half it because of Syker.
No, I think that's half of the battle is in the defence is the psychological. It's good shape, isn't it, from Hull KR, getting across the field. But nice early read there from Harry Syker. He did enough to disrupt the flow with Chisholm, who I think's had an outstanding game. That's going to be an interesting battle for a starting 6 and 7 next year. Obviously, you'd say Albert Kelly and Campese in the driving seat. He's pushing them.
Well, they're conundrums that you'd rather have, John, aren't you? If you're trying to find halfbacks, you've got a problem. If you've got 2 or 3 on your books and you're working out which one's going to be your best combinations, that's by far the best position to be in. Just judging that defensive process there from the Bradford Bulls, where Syker's come out on an angle, shot the line and made the play. That's the big thing. I think most coaches would prefer players to stay in the line, absorb the tackle. Only needs a flick pass and someone's through a huge hole.
Just news from Terry O'Connor down the sideline, who tells me that Mitch Allgood has descended down the tunnel to the dressing room for a concussion check, so unlikely that he'll be back for Hull KR this afternoon. What we're now watching is a penalty here to the Bradford Bulls, which is 40 metres out. Bang it into touch. Mentioned earlier that points difference could be a factor as we look towards the end of this Super 8 qualifying competition. Bradford Bulls, well, even if they can reduce the arrears by a couple of tries here, even one try, it might actually help them. And there could be a question of who's at home in the £1 million match, who's even in the £1 million match. Syker going, Syker stepping. We've already seen him held up over the line once this afternoon. He's very close to the trial, and again the elusive halfback. O'Brien is in at acting halfback for the Bradford Bulls. Patil just flicks a little pass out. They'll do well to offload in that heavy traffic. Well, the case that he's actually held up over the line there, but that's not the call. Oh, straight through a big hole was Jay Pitts. Plays the ball. Syker again. Oh, it's intercepted by one of them. It's not intercepted. The juggler couldn't hold on to the ball, and I tell you what, had he held on to that, it was odds on a try at the other end of the field.
I think they're really looking to get away with that. On the previous plays, there's the big shift across. Wellham just sticks out a finger, just bumps across the leg, and that's the only reason he's now not going full length of the field. But Bradford in attack, a little bit naive for me. Hull Kingston Rovers are defending the full width of the field. Thus, they're evenly spaced out. There's massive holes at the ruck, and Bradford simply aren't going there. If you go at the 9, go in and cut in, there's going to be more room if your defence are defending right across the field. They're not seeing it.
Half an argument that Dane Nielsen stuck his leg out and took Wellham down, but that wasn't the way the referee saw it, and they blew the knock-on against Wellham. And Bradford have had, in the last few minutes, their best spell of field position and possession. Can they make it pay in terms of points? They've only scored once. That was in the first half. Mendika got that try. Underneath the post, shadow of the post, quite literally. A kick through. Well, goodness knows what's happened in there. Anybody's guess. I'd just be guessing. Ben Thaler, I don't think, will be prepared to guess, and I think this will go to the video referee, Richard Silverwood, who's down there with Sam Ansell to have a view of it, and the television pictures will tell us exactly what happened in that melee.
O'Brien off the boot, and it's arguably that's hit the prop forward, Sidlow, who's knocked the ball forward, not with his hands, but then he's not grounded it with his hands either. Yeah, I think it's maybe Matty Marsh who's got to that ball first and made that ball dead. I think it's come off the knee initially of Sidlow. This is going to be very, very difficult to untangle. The kick on was from Sidlow, who's gone over the top, and then there's a pair of hands that's got down before O'Brien could respond. Yeah, it is Matty Marsh, and I think
Well, I'd be pretty confident. I'd take short odds that we'll call it a goal line dropout and move on.
I think in any event, Gareth O'Brien would have done well to look up to his right pre-play, because Bradford had numbers out here on that right-hand edge, had they wanted them. Yeah, Adam O'Brien, he's getting down, but not quick enough. Matty Marsh, Johnny on the spot, makes that ball dead.
Yes, no question. So, Messrs Silverwood and Ansell have come to their conclusion. No try. Goal line dropout. Well, that seems to be what we anticipated, and the Bulls are going to get another set of 6 here, John.
They're going to get another opportunity out there. I like Harry Syker. I think it's injected some real dynamism into that attack since he's come off the bench. There's obviously a reason why they've gone for Patel in the start, and perhaps thought that Danny Addy could have carried that attack single-handedly.
No Jake Mulaney, remember, he sick like some of the other Bradford players, and remember, no Lee Gaskell. Interested to see if Lee Gaskell plays any part in the rest of these qualifiers with those bruised kidneys. Oh, that's spilled again. And really, oh, play on, yep, 0 tackle. Fair call. Ben Thaler was just putting his whistle to his lips to blow, but realised it's Hull KR had pounced on the loose ball in the form of Kieran Dixon, and we could play on. The towering figure of Tills charges forward. Are there more points in this game yet in the final 11 minutes or so? Can Bradford get back in, or can Hull KR notch up a few more?
Now, the run you've just seen from Ken Seo is exactly, I think, what you're talking about, Paul, generating momentum around that ruck and playing off the back of that, but that's for Bradford, not for Hull KR.
Absolutely. There's no need to go all the way around the wingers if the holes are on the inside, especially at the ruck. It's the hardest place to defend.
Mantilato cannot go through Pitts and Nielsen. He's taken down. Wellham passes the ball to Tony Pulatua, and Big Tony will play the ball 40 metres away from the try line. What have they got up their sleeve? Are they going to be conservative? No, they're going to hammer it into the air. Big monstrous bomb for Maurice Blair. Bounces kindly, takes a rover's bounce. Tills displays some good handling skills. Horn has got the flyer outside him. Dixon kicks back inside. Up-team players queuing up. Batted back. Try! Spectacular try. Sensational stuff. I think Graham Horn might have been on the end of it. Well, that was some super stuff. They found the overlap, the kick through from Dixon. It was batted back spectacularly in aerial style. Did Graham Horn get it down? The video referee will have his say.
Well, there's an awful lot to look at in this one. The on-field decision is try. I've got to say, I agree with you. The only doubt I would have, it's Matty Marsh who knocks it back into play acrobatically. Who got the hand there first? Oh! Now, just to remind you that if it's a simultaneous grounding, it's going to go with the attacking side, so it will remain a try. Lovely kick back on the inside. The onside is there. Matty Marsh, great acrobatics here. So the question is now, to overturn this try, it has to be clear footage that Bradford have made first contact with that ball. Simultaneous will not do.
Does Mendika, when the ball's flicked back inside, almost Greg Inglis standard, beautiful bit of play. Does Mendika get the touchdown?
We've had very little time to have a look at that. We're getting past the Bulls mascot there, and I think that shows it clearly. Graham Horn, take a bow, son, because you have shown the greatest awareness and the greatest quickness through the ears.
It's a try all day and all of the night. And it is 36-4 to Hull Kingston Rovers, and it is a magnificent try as well. Just sit back and admire the skills that led to the score. Not only forging the overlap on the far side, the kick from Dixon, the brilliant dive and back by Matty Marsh, and the backing up of Graham Horn, who would have been entitled to put his feet up, having been involved early in the move, Joel.
And don't forget how this started. There's been some bombs that have gone up this afternoon that haven't been taken or have been fumbled, and that actually, I think, has prevented Mendika from committing to that one, which has given Hull KR the second chance. Tills shipped on to McCarthy, to Horn, another great ball to Dixon, who shows great awareness to get back on the inside. Marsh's commitment is 100%. And then Mendika over chases and does not get his hand down before Graham Horn can deliver the killer blow.
We've got to get a real good mention there for Maurice Blair. That kick was fantastic. High and short, which means the defenders have got to come on, and no one fancied it.
Graham Horne's 60th career try. Played, of course, on both sides of the city. Graham Horne, only the second man to have played for Hull KR and Hull at the Challenge Cup final, after Paul Rose. That's quite a stat. And his 96th game for Hull KR today, Graham Horne.
It's got a very similar feel, hasn't it, to Bradford and Widnes. Second half performance from the Bulls, not been up to scratch, and there are reasons, there are mitigating circumstances for that, Paul. I mean, how difficult it is when you lose a man, not once for 10 minutes, but twice in the game. And as we said before, not just adjusting your defensive line for the time he's off, but that fatigue that creeps in naturally for the extra workload that you've got to take on.
On top of, and in addition to, John, a side that's changed because of injury and illness. And what you have to do under those circumstances is have whole 17 playing together, bringing their A game, and that's completion, kick and chase. You're playing against better opposition because they're in the top division and you're not. You have to respect the ball, you have to respect the game. You can't go in with you know, some really poor play where you're off the field for utter nonsense. They've caused their own downfall somewhat.
Well, things got ugly in the back end against Widnes last week. 42-0 second half shellacking. Today it's 26-zip. Sorry, 42-0 last week, 26-zip this week. Kick will come again. High one from Dane Chisholm.
That's a cracker
too. That's a monstrous bomb. Well, it had drop catch all written all over as it went up in the air, I'm afraid. And Amari Caro was the man who couldn't drag it down this time, and that's another set close to the line here for Hull Kingston Rovers. Pulatua! Tony Pulatua gets the legs motoring forward, 10 metres from the line.
Well, I wouldn't say that was uncatchable, but for Amari Caro, that was uncatchable. Here come Hull KR.
Dixon, hugging the sideline, has to come inside. The twinkle-toed Dixon scores again. A hat-trick for Kieran Dixon. 5 tries in 2 matches, and Rugby League redemption for Kieran Dixon. 3 tries on the afternoon as Hull KR start to put the cleaners through the Bradford Bulls. It's 42-4 and there's still 7 minutes to go.
There's a key play in the build-up to this try, and it involves the switch of those 2 players. There's the drop from Amari Caro, was never confident underneath that. We tracked it through the air, it was awful. But here's the key involvement. The man who passes the ball there, Kensio. These 2 have switched positions, Dixon onto the wing, Sio to fullback, and I think both players have benefited from the move.
Really smart from the management at Hull Kingston Rovers to reconstruct that lack of confidence we saw at Wembley not too long ago. Brilliant high ball, and Hull Kingston Rovers have found a path. That path is put it in the air, put it high, keep it short, invite the Bradford Bulls to come forward onto the ball, and no one fancies the job. They've got some work to do during the week on kick and catch. One would be someone's got to nominate and go for it and take responsibility, and the rest have got to block. Pressure on the kicker would also help, and they're getting none of them.
Kieran Dixon's first hat-trick for Hull Kingston Rovers, although he did bag 2 trios for the London Broncos during his time in the capital. Mantellato having something of an off day, although, as mentioned, a lot of his kicks have been high tariff, but this would take Hull KR out to a 40-point advantage. Well, he can have no excuses this time.
Well, the hat-trick for Kieran Dixon makes it 6 tries in the qualifying competition for him, answering his critics in the best possible way. I think that the sweep has to be now on how much longer we talk about the redemption and the rebuilding of confidence. I know Kieran, he's a confident boy, and he'll be leaving that one well behind and focusing his attention on finishing the season in the positive manner which we've seen today.
Well, and to all intents and purposes, Hull Kingston Rovers are now confirmed as a Super League club for 2016. Any club entering the Super 8 qualifiers would have had a little bit of nerves about. You never know what can happen in any game. Anything can happen, and over 7 games anything can happen, but they have done the job superbly. They have won their first 5 matches. They are effectively back in the Super League.
And they've earned the right to be, haven't they? Any team that can get to a Challenge Cup final that Warrington didn't get to, or Wigan or St Helens, has done an exceptional job. And they played most without their best players, in theory, the 6 and 7 that were outstanding at the start of the term. That's a massive rat there to the management at Hull Kingston Rovers.
Bowling ball into Skittles' run from Tony Pulatua to the halfway line. Boudeb's, well, it'd be no surprise if it went high, but this time they're a little bit more conservative, and Caro juggles the football before reeling it in, and then Wellham and Mantellato come across and say, no more, Omari, that's as far as you're going. Bradford have conceded in this second half 6 tries without reply and 30 points, and that makes 9 tries in all to Hull KR. So 6 kicks missed, 6 conversions missed from Josh Mantellato have kept the tally down. They could have been hit for 50 here had Mantellato landed the majority of his goals. He hasn't, so they haven't. 3.5 minutes to go. The Bulls looking for a consolation now. O'Brien, well, a pass that went over its intended target to Patel, and Patel has found Chev Walker, and Walker's gone through a gap. He threatened to offload to Danny Williams on the left flank. In the end, he didn't. Back it goes to Patel. This is the last tackle. Patel comes across to Syker. Syker centre field, kicking to this near touchline, looking for the tall figure of Caro, and he bats it back into space to Syker. Referee Thaler says the ball has gone forward and indicates a turnover. Syker has punted the ball somewhere into the sea, so the time is off.
Attempted, I don't know, back from Amari Caro. There's not a man alive can catch a ball with one hand in that position. Well, possibly Benny Westwood, I'll throw that in. He's done that before. But you've got to go with 2 hands. He looks like he's suffering, Amari Caro, from a knock he picked up earlier on in the game. You know, it's a half-hearted jump for a ball, and you're simply giving the ball away back to an opposition that's been far superior today.
Time ticking away, 3 minutes to go. Bradford Bulls will end the weekend either in 5th or 6th. Really depends what the Lee Centurions do in their fixture this weekend, as they look to get back on track in their bid to qualify for next year's Super League. They had a rough start to the qualifiers, but have come good in their last game. They play Halifax. Ball spilled. Bradford Bulls, can they finish with a flourish? Can they finish with some late fireworks? It's been a really, really top second half for the Bulls. Remember, the first 10 minutes or so of it was spent without Luaki after the, well, unsavoury incident is the best way of describing it, with his fingers going across the eyes of Kieran Dixon. We have not heard the last of that, I'm sure, as O'Brien finds Addy. Addy to Syker. Syker to Patel. Patel crabbing across the field to Walker. Walker has found Williams. Williams, though, has no space in which to move on the far side. 2 tackles left for the Bulls. Can they get points on the board in this final couple of minutes? The Hull KR defence has been watertight in the second half. In fact, since the early stages of the first, when Mendika levelled the scores at 4-4. Syker's kick looks too strong, is too strong, only just too strong. There's a couple of near misses for Mendika from kicks through in this second half, John.
They're getting closer, aren't they? And he's had some shortcomings under the high ball. Here goes Dixon. Oh, try saver.
Well, if he breaks the tackle, it's put the binoculars down.
Try saver, Jay Pitts. He had to be at 100% there, because Kieran Dixon certainly was. Was just about to say that Mendika, he's fallen short under the high ball, but you cannot blame the man for enthusiasm and courage in chasing those kicks down. However,
now we got a knock on.
Just overcooked it a little. There was Kieran Dixon's break. Superb tackle back from Jay Pitts, wasn't it?
Well, most of the Bradford Bulls have switched off at that point. You're right, John. It's a good job Pitts didn't. There's the bounced up off the ball more than anything else. It's not the worst tackle I've ever seen, but we can't have contact with the head of an opponent, whether it's accidental, careless, reckless or deliberate. We simply can't have it.
Well, the ruling either way is knock on. So obviously a knock to the head now, not enough for Ben Thaler to say that there's a reason for you to dislodge the ball.
40 seconds left then here at the KC Lightstream Stadium. 9 tries to 1. 42 points to 4 to Hull Kingston Rovers, their 5th consecutive win in the Super 8 qualifiers, the one that, barring the strangest of sequence of results that are barely credible, will be enough to put them in the Super League for 2016. The Bulls still harbour hopes of making the £1 million game. There could be more yet. Seo offloads to Wellham. Wellham, has he got the gas? No, he hasn't. He's corralled. He's corralled 40 metres out by Amari Caro. There could still be more points. This will be the final play. The siren sounds. Graham Horne goes round the outside to Dixon. And it's going to be a try. It's going to be a final flourish. The final fireworks come from Kieran Dixon. An afternoon he will not forget. 4 tries for Kieran Dixon. 6 in 2 matches. And Hull KR put the full stop at the end of this match, at the end of this rout of the Bradford Bulls. They will finish just shy of the half-century.
Dixon finishing, a side that's willing to play on the last second of the game. Chisholm's pass finds Horne on the outside. Chisholm's had an outstanding game. Graham Horne's had a special game. Kieran Dixon, well, the 4 tries speak for themselves. Your job as a winger, finish those opportunities when you're given them. Look at Horne in the centre. It looks like he's played his entire career in the 3 quarters. And then you give a man with pace like Dixon, even a yard of space, he's going to make you pay.
Well, Kieran Dixon, well, he kicked a goal last week. And he's going to have the final say. That wasn't quite the full stop. He's going to have another sentence, Kieran Dixon. Mantellato has been off-key with the boot today. 3 successes from 9 attempts for a percentage of 33 1/3. Dixon, well, he's picked a difficult opportunity to bang one over from here to make it 48-4 in the final analysis. It won't have any real relevance.
Well, it'll take his personal haul from 16 to 18.
Well, whatever the haul, it's a 2-point haul for Chris Chester and a good afternoon for the Hull KR boss and his side. Come on, Chris, raise a smile, man. 46 points to 4, for goodness sake. Anyway, 5 wins out of 5 for Chris Chester and the Rovers. Dixon! He can kick goals too. He can score tries. He can kick goals. He's had a wonderful match. Big smile for Kieran Dixon, and oh boy, doesn't he deserve it. 48 points to 4 to Hull KR. A resounding triumph over the Bradford Bulls, who must pick themselves up now for a real big game. A real big game next week in the qualifiers, a game you can see live next Saturday afternoon at the Lee Sports Village. Lee Bradford, that is a whopper. But stay tuned on Sky Sports 5 for this big game as the Rhinos look to go 2 points clear. Dragons against Rhinos coming up next on Sky Sports 5.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live on all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of Rugby League on Sky Sports.
Here's to all of you who love to break. Whether you break together or prefer to break alone. However you break, have a Kit Kat. And for those of you who like to share your breaks, try new Kit Kat Snap and Share.
When Kenny says Purple Bricks could save you thousands when you sell your house, he's telling the truth. And when he says Purple Bricks is backed up with an impressive 5-star independent rating from real people on Trustpilot. That's very reassuring when you're buying, selling, or letting your property. And when I say of the Bruce brothers, I'm by far the better-looking brother. That's where the advert's over, Kenny.
Visit purplebricks.com and book a free valuation.
Wrong way. Yes.
I'm a sofa bear, and I love streaming HD, which is why I'm with Virgin Media. They run a totally different type of cable to my house. It's powered by DOCSIS 3 technology, so it's up to twice as fast as the copper wiring mainly used by BT.
Virgin Media Broadband, powered by DOCSIS 3 technology. It's the magic in our cables.
Sports Direct.com.
This week only, these Adidas Galato football boots are down to an incredible £20. Only at
I'm that shrewd part of you that loves finding value, so I'm excited to see Travelodge's new.
Upgraded rooms, a comfy new king-size bed. To stay anywhere else, you'd need rocks in your head.
Great rooms, big beds, locations. This place has it all.
And for such amazing value, that's Travelogical.
That's Travelogical.
Lovely cup of tea for Jeremy there. And he's clocked it. Jeremy just realized that if he'd sent money abroad with TransferWise, it could have been a whopping 8 times cheaper than most high street banks. Blimey. 8 times cheaper? How very nice. So, Jeremy, next time you transfer money abroad, TransferWise.
Ladbrokes, proud sponsor of the Super League on Sky Sports.
At the top four, looking as though that's how it's going to stay now. Castleford Tigers cannot get there. Catalan in 7th going into this game. Well, the Dragons ending the season with yet more injury problems. But Morgan Escaré is at full-back. Thomas Bosk is pressed into service on the wing for the 2nd week running. Krishnan Inu moves inside to partner Tony Gigot, and Jordan Sigismo continues on the other flank. For the halves, though, what Catalan were hoping they would see throughout the season, but have seen only infrequently, Todd Carney and Scott Giroux. And in the forwards, Olivier Elamé, in Henderson returns, Jeff Lima, Zeb Teya, Elliot Whitehead and Jason Batteri. And on the bench, Eloy Pellissier, Benjamin Garcia, Julien Bousquet and Anthony Maria for the coach, Laurent Fresineau. Now then, the Leeds Rhinos with Zach Hardacre back in action, Tom Briscoe, Carl Ablett. There's no Jimmy Kindhorse because he's got a fractured eye socket, and Callum Watkins is absent as well. So Ablett and Moon the centres, Ryan Hall, and it's a significant game for him, his 250th Leeds appearance. Kevin Sinfield, a red letter day for him, his 35th birthday as well. And in the forwards, Kali Luluai, Adam Cuthbertson continues in this versatile hooking role. Jamie Peacock, Stevie Ward, Mitch A. Church and Brett Delaney. On the bench, Brad Singleton, Josh Walters, Jordan Lilly and Mitch Garbutt, the coach, Brian McDermott, leading a daylight raid on Perpignan. They flew this morning, did the Leeds Rhinos, directly into Perpignan to take on the Catalan Dragons on their own territory. And that is not an easy task. But Leeds, one of only 2 sides here, have triumphed there this season, along with the Huddersfield Giants. Salford, of course, roaring for York in one of the games, or one of the bizarre games of this season. Leeds looking refreshed, though. It worked for them when they came here early in the season. They won 38 points to 22. But Catalan looking to end their home campaign on a high note. The team led out by all the players who are leaving this season. There are 2 of them, Ian Henderson and Zeb Teya. Elliot Whitehead, likewise, he'll be leaving. Benjamin Garcia. Jeff Lima alongside them is staying by all accounts. Some speculation as to what his future might be. Scott Giroux, another one who'll be departing. So with that in mind, it's always a big occasion in Perpignan, Barry, but with those guys leaving as well, they'll be up for this, won't they?
And of course, they've got the Leeds Rhinos in town. They lay the welcome mat down for the Rhinos until the whistle starts, and then it's all